Hello, and welcome to part 2 of Anatomy of the Ear. In part 2, we will discuss structures of the internal ear. So while the middle ear contains our 3 auditory ossicles, you see that here, the internal ear contains the apparatus for hearing and equilibrium. And the internal ear lies within the densest portion of the petrous pyramids. And remember, that's that dense part of our temporal bone. The internal ear is divided into 2 parts. First is the osseous or the bony labyrinth. The second is the membranous labyrinth. And you don't need to write this part down. I'm just going to share this with you, but I'm not going to test you on it. The osseous labyrinth is a bony chamber that contains the membranous labyrinth. The membranous labyrinth is a series of intercommunicating ducts and sacs. And you kind of see that depicted in blue here. So the blue is kind of an illustration of your membranous labyrinth. Okay, this area is located posterior and lateral to the internal acoustic meatus. So you can see the internal acoustic meatus is here. So this labyrinth region is located kind of posterior and lateral. Now, more about the bony or the osseous labyrinth. So the osseous labyrinth is divided into 3 different parts. You have the cochlea here, you have the vestibule here, and you have the semicircular canals. And remember, this is the bony labyrinth. Within this bony labyrinth is that membranous labyrinth. The osseous labyrinth completely surrounds and encloses those ducts and sacs of the membranous labyrinth. Now, for example, the cochlea, which you can see here, houses a long tube-like duct of the membranous labyrinth. And remember on our previous slide, that was indicated in blue. The cochlea is the most anterior of the 3 parts of the osseous labyrinth, and it contains the round window. So this is kind of the base of the cochlea. The vestibule is the central portion of the bony or osseous labyrinth, and it contains the oval window, which is sometimes referred to as the vestibule window. And remember, the oval window is important because that receives the vibrations from the stapes. Remember, the stapes is one of our ossicles that lives in the middle ear. The 3 semicircular canals are posterior to the other internal ear structures. So this is kind of posterior, this is anterior. The semicircular canals are named according to their position: superior, posterior, and lateral. And each canal is located at a right angle to the other 2, allowing for a sense of equilibrium and a sense of direction, which is pretty interesting. The semicircular canals relate to the sense of direction or equilibrium, and the cochlea relates to the sense of hearing because of its connection to the stapes through the oval window. So let me just restate that. Remember, the apparatus for hearing and equilibrium live within the internal ear, and the semicircular canals contribute to our sense of equilibrium, while the cochlea is the apparatus for our hearing because it connects to the middle ear through the oval window. Next, here is a CT scan of the temporal bone. And again, I mentioned this in part 1, but if you work in CT, you will do imaging of the temporal bone to try to visualize some of these small structures. So you can see here is the ear right here. So this is lateral and this is medial. And you can see some of the fine structures that we've been talking about. The cochlea, the eustachian tube. Here are some of our very fine auditory ossicles, the malleus, the incus, the stapes. And then of course this area is our mastoid air cells. Now you can see how small and complex these structures are and why CT would really be a better modality to visualize these structures. All right, guess what? We are all done. That is it for anatomy of the ear. If you have any questions, please let me know.